Successful companies usually scaled by accident.
So you've been running your SaaS for 2 years, you're profitable, you're growing, and you're proud of your product. But if I asked you, who's your best customer, you'd probably guess wrong.
How can you be wrong about who pays you?
Because you're using gut feeling instead of data. So by the end of this video, you're going to have a 90-minute process to find your true ICP using the revenue data that you already have. And you're going to know exactly who to stop selling to. So we're going to go over why successful SaaS companies still get their ICP wrong. Then we're going to show you how to do a fact-based analysis that reveals your real best customer. And finally, we're going to show you how to evolve your ICP without accidentally killing your business in the process. So Tom, why do quote-unquote successful SaaS companies still get their ICP wrong?
Successful companies usually scaled by accident. So they think they know their customer. They build personas, they got case studies. Typically, that's like on the scaling side. In the beginning, they have nothing. They just put things out and, But they're often still marketing to the wrong people. And that's because most founders treat all customers equally. And that's founders, not just in SaaS, that's like in every business I've ever dealt with. They're like, we can sell to this demographic. We can sell to, these type of people and, same pricing, marketing, support, same for everybody. And the truth is that 20% of your customers drive 80% of your revenue. And the flawed thinking that everyone's the same, it just kills growth. So Mark Anderson said it, product market fit is about being in a good market with a product that can satisfy it. If you don't know who is pulling your product the hardest, you don't actually have product market fit. You have accidental traction.
So it's like not all customers are created equal, right? So I know, you talk about like sometimes customers churn in 3 months, sometimes they stay for years, and those are different kinds of customers.
Yeah, and some just nickel and dime you on discount.
Yeah.
And this is the whole thing that like Peter Levels and some of these guys say, like, don't have a free premium, whatever, like anything, right? Like whatever you call it. Free stuff attracts free seekers,
Yeah. The other thing in SaaS that you guys may be aware of is like we talk a lot about your direct customers and then your enterprise customers, and they're two very different segments, right? Like you may think your software is worth $297 a month, and for your direct customers, that's fine. But then that same software deployed in an enterprise, 100, 200, 500 person company might save them, $50,000, $100,000 a month. Why are you charging them $297 a month? Should be charging them a lot more than that.
Yeah, there's also another issue. And I've just spoke with a B2B SaaS about this. They have problems getting corporate and enterprise customers. And I asked them, well, what the pricing is. And they said it was like $197, I think, per month. And I said, well, you need to realize that big companies, they usually have a purchasing agent. The founder is not buying it. Bill Gates is not looking for your software, right? They have a hire for that. And when that hire goes in their computer, sometimes $1,000 or roughly $1,000 is the minimum they can enter into,
the system.
Yeah, into the system, right? So a one something is not going to cut it. The second thing is usually a purchasing agent will not go to their manager at a meeting and say, hey, I found this SaaS that's going to work for us. $1 or $1 billion company, we're paying $200 for it. They'll get laughed out of the room. You know what I mean? Like there's a perception issue.
Yeah, there's a perception ego issue. It's almost like, yeah, that's for the small companies. It's not for us.
Yeah. So
it can't possibly do what we need.
Yeah. So that's just like, weaving into the why people won't buy your stuff, and if your real ICP is those clients and you got the wrong pricing, that itself will give you wrong data because no one bought because they just can't. They can't input into their system. But, finding your ICP is not something that you get through an opinion, you get it through data.
All right. So how do you find it? And so, Tom, I know you have this process called the 90-minute analysis, right? Where you look at your own data, but you look at it in a very specific way, the right way, so to speak. So what do you do?
So we export from Stripe database, wherever. We take a couple fields, would be ACV or MRR, company size, industry, use case, lead source, time to close, churn status, expansion revenue, if any. Like, don't overthink it. You're looking at just main data points in your SaaS. And then you sort by segment. And if one segment is 40% of revenue, but only 10% of customers, that's your ICP.
And what about churn?
Well, we're looking at which is lowest and which expands to upsells, upgrades, add seats. And usually expansion is worth 10x than the one that churns. And that's what we focus on.
And that's like a general business thing too, right? Which is like a company that's structured properly, 90% of your revenue is almost always in expansion revenue rather than in upfront sales.
And then you would look, can we segment that even more into who closes the fastest? So the least follow-ups involved. So it could be just like which one buys on the first or second email, not on the 10th or 11th. Or which one buys on their first demo, not on, whatever nonsense comes up after.
So your ICP is really a combination of who has the highest LTV, right?
Yeah.
The lowest churn, strongest expansion possibility, and the fastest sales cycle.
Yeah. And then we build the anti-ICP, the segment you need to stop selling to. And that's high support cost, constant discount requests, chronic churn, low expansion potential, and then you document both. That matters.
Yeah. And then the next step after that is to work this into your marketing, right?
Marketing, more likely, I would say the positioning formula.
Okay. All right.
So,
tell me more about that.
Well, I don't know if you've seen a lot of, SaaS lately. Everything's AI driven, comprehensive, tons of features, right?
Yeah.
Things that don't mean anything.
But it's AI powered. That's what's important.
But it's AI powered, yeah.
Yeah.
So something like, I like to just give to people if they have nothing that makes sense is like a quick one sentence formula. And it's like, we win most with this segment who does X because we deliver Y outcome. Right.
So what's an example of that?
Yeah. So it could be like, we win most with 20% e-commerce brands who struggle with inventory forecasting because we cut their stockouts by 30% in 60 days. So we're trying to hit up on everything. Like, who are we for exactly? What problem are we solving? And how we're solving it through either saving money, time, or the things that people care about.
And if you're a developer and you don't have experience with e-commerce, that may sound like gobbledygook to you. But but I actually sat down with a bunch of e-commerce guys yesterday, and we were talking about like their business model's biggest challenge is inventory forecasting. They either overbuy it or underbuy it. So you've got these companies that do 10, 20 plus million a year who have no cash because they bought too much inventory, or a ton of cash because they didn't buy enough inventory because they didn't have your software to estimate it for them.
And this is why SaaS is such a good business model. Like the average e-commerce guy will tell you, this is what happens here. You have stock that you bought 3 times. One's getting built in the factory, one's on a ship traveling somewhere, and the third one's probably in an Amazon warehouse that you're trying to offload and being charged for. With SaaS, you just build it. It's such a better business model.
For sure. All right. So how is this going to evolve and change over time? Like once you have these ICPs?
Well, I typically would say rerun it maybe every 6 months. That your data tests and see if you're still on track, see if the demographics changed, see if any external things changed, because they do. Different trends come up and people might be calling the same thing differently, right? what we called automation for 20 years, they try to call AI agents now. Which is just like the same thing at the moment, but you might have to change, your positioning slightly just to make sure that you're still on top of it.
Yeah. The other thing I'll say is if you are a developer, you're probably already thinking, hey, can I actually write an internal tool that automates this data extraction out of Stripe and our CRM and to run the analysis for me every 6 months? And yeah, go for it. Once you've done it once yourself, you kind of know what's going on. Get the data pulled out automatically. Why do it manually?
I actually think this is like a perfect thing for developers that like to actually automate things and solve logical problems. And this is a simple logical problem. You're just looking at different data sets and figure out like which one is the best one for you.
All right. What about the mindset side of this, Tom?
Yeah, the niching pain, right?
Yeah.
The thing about great positioning means you will say no to a lot of people.
And that's tough for a lot of business people to hear.
It's, I would say, more tough for service agencies than for developers. I would think. It's hard for developers, but I'm just trying. Yeah. So the way you would think about this as a developer, at least you don't need to talk to these people on the phone, like most service agencies, right? You don't need to talk to them, listen about nonsense for 30 minutes and then be like, oh yeah, wait, you're not good for us. This one sentence is actually saving you a lot of time.
A lot of refunds, a lot of churn.
And leaving all the crappy customers for the I do everything software. So, when most founders really want to serve everyone, they end up just whining about all the problems that happen with the wrong customers. And you want to avoid that. Yeah.
So what's the takeaway here, Tom? What can developers take from
your best customers hide in the data.
They do. And you want to tailor your pricing, your marketing, and your support for your best customers. That's how you're going to win.
That's true. And after you get your ideal segment nailed down, we can show you how to market with leverage without having to market. I know it's insane. It sounds insane. But if you go to the link below, we'll show you how.